For those of you that have been watching The Chosen Few on Channel 57 now for the last couple of years, you know that I take special pride in the Italian fighters that Chosen Few has, and they don't get more Italian than Dante Schiro right here, who's joining us right now. And Dante, welcome on into the sports news. And you know, I want to talk a little bit, if you could, about that Italian background. I think you might have the family that has the most Italian names ever. You got a brother, Salvatore, you got Carlito, all the names, if you could please, and the Italian background that you have.
Yeah, so we got me, Dante, Francesco, Salvatore, and Carlito, all very Italian names. But we got a long history of Italian families here in the Madison area. A lot of them grew up in the Greenbush area and have roots through there too. So it's real fun getting to know everybody through that.
Absolutely. The other tradition that you seem to share as a family is that tradition of wrestling and the background that you have. If you could, for people that aren't familiar with, I mean, you and all your brothers that wrestle, if you could explain some of that background.
Yeah, so actually I was the last one of the boys to start wrestling. My younger brother started it, thought it was like the whole WWE route. Turned out not to be, but we still loved it and enjoyed it, and we kind of just bonded over that and kind of became one through the sport, and that's what's became the foundation of my MMA career now too.
Yeah, and that MMA career, and I definitely want to get into that right now, has been blossoming. As an amateur, you got on a roll that started a little bit over a year ago, and you have been hot ever since. What got you so hot? What do you attribute that success to?
I mean, the success is just built upon the people around me. I have a great gym at The Chosen Few, great coaches, training partners, and a great support system in my family and my fiance around me. But I mean, my first fight, I went out there kind of flat, and I lost my first fight, and that kind of sparked a fire underneath me, and then took an injury and had a lot of time to reflect on that. And when I came back, it was just time to go.
Yeah, you were perfect for 2017.
Yeah.
You've been hot going into 2018, and what's cool about 2018 too, you got to make your pro debut. That happened just a little bit about maybe 2 months ago in Milwaukee. Walk us through that one. What was it like to step into the cage now as a pro rather than as an amateur?
Not much different for me. It was a great opportunity, I think, just because I've been for so long now waiting for that opportunity to become actually a professional fighter. But as far as preparation and all that, nothing's really different. You know, I just kept my nose to the ground, kept grinding, kept working with all my training partners and coaches, and it all went and turned out well for me getting the first round submission.
Yeah, you know, we talk about your wrestling background. You definitely have that, so we know that you're good when you go to the mat. Talk about striking, though. I mean, that's, you know, a part of the game that I think for you has really improved over the last, like, 12 months or so.
Yeah, so obviously, we talked about before, I came up on wrestling, but the last few months, especially after this last fight, I've been really focusing on my boxing, trying to implement that game into my fights now. And with my next fight coming up, I think it's a great matchup to be able to showcase some of my striking skills, staying on the feet.
Yeah, you take on Saijo Imazaki. I think I'm pronouncing his name right. What do you know about your opponent as you go into this one?
I know he comes from a Kyokushin background, as far as I'm aware, and a little bit of a wrestling background, but I think he's more heavily based in that Kyokushin aspect. So that's why I think it's going to be a great fight for me to be able to implement some of my striking.
Yeah, does that I guess, like, change your training at all, and how you got to work for things? So is it a lot less focus taken from the mat stuff and more into the striking?
Not really for me. For my fights, I like to focus on what I'm going to do and not change things very heavily based off of my opponent. But for this one, it's kind of nice because dealing with somebody who has a stand-up background, I can kind of focus on that stand-up a little bit more and not worry about the grappling so much. But you know, it's an MMA fight, things happen, and that takedown, I'm sure, will always be there, and I wouldn't be surprised if I end up taking him down at some point.
Absolutely. You know, I always wonder about this too. I mean, the fights at Monona Terrace, the Chosen Few crowds are fantastic. They're home crowds for you. Can you hear them when you're in the cage? Does it make a difference for you?
I hear them when I'm walking out there and after, not so much before. The only voices I really hear during the fight are my coaches, and I mean, that's a good thing to me.
That's a special skill that you could tune out that background noise and hear your coaches talking to you. Dante, we've been rooting for you for a while. You've been doing great. We can't wait to see you this Saturday at the Monona Terrace.
Thank you.
Brought to you by Conan Automotive, taking care of you by taking care of your family's car.